This is the Adoption is Love podcast. Real stories from real birth moms who've lived it, loved through it, and grown stronger because of it.
I think we would just encourage women, make the phone call, send the text, get the information, because there's no pressure or obligation when you call.
We like to share with moms that all the choices are theirs. Mm-hmm. This is not about us making a decision for them. It's going to be their decision.
In this episode, Heather Hales and Catherine Cheek from Deaconess Pregnancy and Adoption break down what that first phone call to an adoption agency is really like. With nearly 4 decades of experience, they understand the unexpected. They're joined by adoptive mom and director of development, Kristen Reyes-Tarsick.
Heather and Catherine, do you mind just sharing a little bit about your experience with adoption and how you got connected to serving women and families in this way?
I first learned about adoption from a kid in the youth group at my church that was adopted, and I just found it fascinating. And so over the years of going through education and career, that was kind of where I kept finding myself, was just a desire to serve kids and their families. And I really didn't know that I would just love working with birth moms the way that I have over the years. And that was a really sweet part of jumping into the world of adoption. But I have been working in foster care and adoption for almost 20 years, but I've been at Deaconess for a little over 13 years now.
And I, Catherine, have been at Deaconess for 19 years. My first career was as a child life specialist in a hospital. And then I became a parent for a couple of years. And then when it was time to start another career, I came across adoption. And it has been a very fulfilling journey with families and children and moms. So I've worked with birth moms for about half of that time. And as Heather said, I think it is a joy and an honor to work with moms who've placed their children for adoption.
I love hearing that. One of the things I do so appreciate about the both of you and seeing you oftentimes in action is just the love and care you have for birth moms and how much they love you and how much our adoptive families love you. And our adoptees, you guys do a really beautiful job of loving people well during a really tough time. From some of the conversations we've had with moms who have placed, a lot of them talk about one of the hardest parts was making that first phone call to actually reach out. And we'd love today to just unpack what it's going to be like to make that first phone call. So maybe to reduce some of that fear in women. So if I were on Adoption is Love's website or on the Deaconess website and I see that number, am I going to get a real person? If I text, is it an AI tool? Is it a human? Talk to me about what happens when I make that first text or call.
It is a real person. We have staff that manage our on-call phone 24/7, 365 days a year, because babies just like to come when they want to come. And so we are very comfortable with being available. So you would get a real person. I do think one of the pieces of fear that people often carry is if they make this phone call, they're committed to making an adoption plan. And that is not the truth. So you can make that phone call, you can get information, work with us all the way through the birth of your baby and still decide that you want to parent. And so I think we would just encourage women, make the phone call, send the text, get the information, because there's no pressure or obligation when you call.
Yes, absolutely. We like to share with moms that all the choices are theirs. This is not about us making a decision for them. It's going to be their decision.
I had heard from one of our adoption specialists. I asked her what's it like to meet with a mom for the first time, or what are the questions she asked. One of the things that was really beautiful is that she said that she asked, what are your dreams and hopes for yourself and for your child? And I think that there's a part of this that it's not just information, it's the beginning of potentially something that is very relationship oriented and very caring. So I call or text. Somebody calls me. Are they going to ask me a million questions? Is that the person I'm going to meet? Can you give me a few more specifics to kind of help as to what happens after that call, or what happens specifically on that call? Is it a short call? If I don't want anybody to know I'm even thinking about this, is it private?
So all calls are confidential. So I like to definitely share that.
Even if you're a teenager or underage?
Even if you're a teenager, that call is confidential. Okay. There are some laws if you are underage regarding adoption, but that would be discussed. We could answer the questions that you have at that time. If you have some questions, we're absolutely welcome. It can be day or night, 24 hours. We will answer that phone, because we know that sometimes that courage comes in the middle of the night, and we're saying that's okay. Right? And you will have a real person who's not necessarily asking you questions. We're just kind of wanting to know a little bit about you. If you want to ask questions and talk longer, then that's great. Or we can set a time to meet with you in a comfortable space that is good for you, or you could come to our office. So we give you that choice. The reason we like to meet in person when you're ready is so you can see that we're real people and that it's a face-to-face conversation in a comfortable space. And we want you to know that you're safe, that any information you share with us is going to stay with us because it is, again, confidential.
I would say that typically a first phone call is probably 5 minutes or less. Now, if a woman has a lot of questions and it's longer, that's great. We don't mind that. But I would say most of the time you're calling and, we're introducing ourselves and we're saying, well, what questions do you have? Or would it be helpful for me to kind of give you like the basics of what adoption looks like? We relay that to you. You may ask a follow-up question, and we're offering to meet with you, like Catherine is saying. That first phone call, 5 to 10 minutes maybe. Or again, you can just text. If you're not comfortable with a phone call, we can do all of that via text message and set up a time to meet with you. And we'll come to you in your community. You don't have to come to us. You don't have to come to some big, scary office building.
So you'll drive out to meet me wherever I would like to meet.
Absolutely. So we'll meet you at Brahms. We'll meet you at the library, at a pregnancy center, wherever a mom is comfortable meeting, we will come to her. In terms of questions that we would ask you in that first phone call, we would ask for your name. But if you're only comfortable giving us your first name, or even just, I'm not comfortable with that. Okay. You don't have to.
So you can be anonymous and still get information.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I think we would typically ask you your name, and we would typically ask when you're due, because that also helps us to know like how quickly would we need to get you information if you're wanting to make that adoption plan. If you're due tomorrow, then we'd want to make sure we meet with you tomorrow versus if you're due in, 8 months, then like, okay, what's your availability this week? So those are probably the two questions I can think of that we would ask you on that first phone call, but you don't have to answer either one of them.
At that face-to-face meeting, then what happens there? Is it I'm given a packet of info? Do I sign paperwork? Or is it okay to just keep talking and exploring?
We like to build a relationship and in doing so, just kind of finding out your story as much as you want to share. Or if you don't want to share anything, that's okay too. But we want to just hear what you need to talk about. And then there is some paperwork in the plan for adoption. And so at that first meeting, we may just do a client information sheet. Again, this is confidential, but just a little bit of information about you. And then we will answer any of your questions. And then we will also be talking about the options that you have with your pregnancy.
And again, even if we ask for that client information form, you can say no. Catherine and I feel like a broken record that like you have control and you have choices in this process. But that client information sheet is pretty standard for us in that first meeting. And it's just basic information about you and about your pregnancy. And then we usually give you like a little packet of resources that you can take home. And it's in a folder that's pretty nondescript so that there's nothing that says adoption on the front of it if we're meeting with you at Brahms or something like that. So we're always looking to figure out how can we manage the confidentiality and your privacy in that process.
And I also want to add that if someone were to call our agency and ask if we have seen somebody or talked to someone on the phone, we are going to say we cannot confirm or deny any clients. I want moms to know that.
Yeah, we take that very seriously.
Do the birth fathers have to be a part of any of these meetings or process?
They do not. They can be. If you want them there, they can absolutely be there. But no, they do not have to be a part of any of the meetings. State law in your state is going to dictate what their rights are. Most states today have the right to be notified of the adoption plan. They don't necessarily have to be okay with it, but they have to get notification of it typically. So we would walk you through for your specific situation, what does that notification process look like? We recognize that sometimes that is a really scary part if you're in an unsafe relationship and you don't want contact with him. And so we would help support you and walk you through what are the options and how do we do that to keep you safe and meet all the requirements of the law.
So part of that information meeting really is to figure out how to best support this mama in what she's going through. But you also have the expertise to know legally what the process would be and whatever she's going to feel is comfortable.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to the Adoption is Love podcast, brought to you by Deaconess Pregnancy and Adoption. Today, you heard what that first phone call can sound like. To learn more or to make your own first call, visit adoptionis.love and connect with an adoption specialist.